All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everyone out there. June 6th, we got a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. All right, in terms of yesterday, it was one of those days where we had a ton of action. We do end up in the green at 0.06 units up. So, yeah, 6 cents on the dollar. Not even 0.6. It was 0.06. We had a lot of action. It really came from the Cubs money line and the Dodgers money line. Dodgers coming back and winning. Those were our only two full unit plays of the day. Also cashing, I guess, the Tigers and White Sox under in the first 5 because that was a half unit split for 2 different numbers. So yeah, a decent day in terms of what we got out of it. You know what I mean? We had a lot of entertainment, but in terms of profit, really nothing to write home about there. Unfortunately, we do got to talk about some bad news right now. Get the womp womp out of the way on my man Kool-Aid. Phillies first 5 money line. They got smoked yesterday. I had the Phillies team total. I had them on the money line as well, so I can't talk smack here. But the ride of the day streak for Kool-Aid comes to an end. You can see the tracker here. He had hit 2 in a row and ends up losing on day number 3. Still made a little bit of profit over his stretch as well. So we are in the market to find a new person to ride with. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it is simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Also give you a shout out over on my Twitter/X, which will be popping up here throughout the show, right in the bottom left. Boom, there it is. And you get posted on the website, right? If you do win, we continue to roll with your plays. If you lose, unfortunately, like Kool-Aid did today, gotta face the womp womp, and we do talk about it. But get those hashtag ride of the days down in the comments, and shout out to Kool-Aid. That Phillies money line looked good. I liked it too, and unfortunately, just did not come through. But good attempt, still made a little bit of profit over that stretch there. But all right, what do you say we go ahead and dive into today's slate? Guys, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. Really do appreciate it. I know I say that in a lot of videos, but it doesn't make it any less true just because I say it a lot, right? Really do appreciate all of the support as of late. But all right, game number 1. Tampa Bay taking on Miami. Tampa Bay's coming off of a sweep of the Texas Rangers. They win 3 games. Miami was home, so, not exactly the biggest of travel. They had the day off yesterday. They got swept by the Colorado Rockies. I think Miami comes into this one a little bit fired up. Now, do I really want to sit here and pull the trigger on Miami? I'm not sure, but what I will say is they played, a couple weeks ago. It was in Miami, though, and Miami won that series 2-1, right? We have Edward Cabrera going up against Zach Littell. Littell, I would say, is the better pitcher, but in the last 5 starts or so, Cabrera's been pretty damn good. He hasn't necessarily faced off against crazy offenses. In the only offense that I think he did face off against that was good, which was the Cubs, they kind of hit him up. But still, I think that for the price, it would be Miami or nothing for me in this one. I also don't mind the idea of an under. We can give credit to Cabrera. We can give credit to Littell. I don't really love the idea of the bullpens here. I mean, Tampa Bay's is pretty good. But to me, I still don't know if I fully trust these offenses, even though Tampa Bay still is looking pretty good, as I keep saying that over and over again. Still going to lean slightly towards the under in this one, but for the price, it would only be Miami for me. All right, Pittsburgh taking on Philadelphia. Joe Ross on the mound for the Phillies. He's only come out of the bullpen so far this season. No starts. He's going up against, I believe it is still, Bailey Falter. So definitely a starting pitching advantage on the on the Pittsburgh side of things. But offensively, you still can give this to Philadelphia, even though they've kind of been struggling, right? This Pittsburgh offense is scary, and I keep flashing back to the fact that I think it was Paul Skeens has let up he's pitched like 13 games where he's let up X amount of runs, and he's lost 8 of those games where it's like 1-run games that he's let up. So I keep thinking about that, and it really does kind of frame, if you want to frame a reference here, really frame that Pittsburgh offense. This Philadelphia offense, though, they have the ability to go off, but have they? I'm not all that sure. We do have decent weather there in Pittsburgh, which I think, we don't have decent weather in Pittsburgh. It's the opposite. It's kind of crappy weather, so I think this could be kind of a grimy game. I liked Philadelphia to score some timely runs, but if someone's on the Pittsburgh side of things, I can't really deny that or knock it because of the weather, right? If this is going to be a pitcher's duel or a sloppy game or something like that, then obviously falter, and honestly, Pittsburgh has the advantage. But I'm going to lean Philadelphia. At some point, they kind of get out of this rut, right? They have 1 win over their last 7. In terms of a total, because of the weather, I don't think it's going to be a crazy high-scoring game. I'm going to lean towards the under. But Joe Ross is pitching. We don't know exactly what we're going to get out of him, right? All right, Washington taking on Texas. Speaking of being able to make an argument for both sides, I do think this game falls into that bucket. Slightly, I'm going to lean towards Washington. I think their bats are a little bit better, even though recent games may not be saying that. But ultimately, it's not like Texas's bats, their recent games are showing much either, right? And you have Soroka and Corbin on the mound. I almost want to say Corbin is the better pitcher. His numbers wouldn't say it this year, but he is in a little bit of an advantageous spot here going up against lefties, going up against Washington as a lefty. They don't really hit lefties all that well. But I still do think, again, this is a better offense on the Washington side of things, especially at home. We have nice weather. If we have a total of 9.5, I think that Washington gets to their number first, okay? So slight lean towards Washington. I don't mind the over. I don't like either one of these bullpens, certainly not Washington's. Don't trust Texas's. Texas used a lot of key arms in their bullpen yesterday as well. A couple guys went 2 of the last 3, and a couple guys went 2 straight. So yeah, this should be a game in which if we have good weather, there's 9 innings of potential runs being scored. So I'll lean towards Washington as well as the over. In terms of player props, honestly, a slight look at Michael Soroka here, just because we're getting plus money, okay? But plus 124 for his under 4.5 strikeouts. He's only averaging 4.6 strikeouts this year, and he's hit the under in 4 of 6 games. When at home so far this year, he's 1-1 to that. He had 8 strikeouts against Cleveland, and then 2 against San Francisco in 6 innings. So I do think that's kind of a decent spot for that plus 120 and beyond price tag. But again, this is kind of a game with a decent amount of question marks in it, because as much as I say Washington has the better offense, like I said, they haven't really looked like it, right? So we'll see what we end up doing within this one. With a full slate, I'd be shocked if we do kind of have a play or 2 in this one, but keep an eye on the final plays. And actually, real quick before we move on, let me show you how I found that Soroka play. I used Outlier, guys. So if you guys don't know what Outlier is, I'll jump in on the screen right now. It is my favorite research tool, definitely for player props. So what I love is that you can do all sports on this thing. They also have game picks and stuff like that as well. But let's go back to that Soroka play. So I'm filtered down to Texas and Washington. I'm looking for some decent hit rates and some decent money. Okay, let's click into Soroka. Where is he? We can search him, right? So Michael Soroka here. We go in, look at his strikeouts. Okay, well, he has not been cashing that. For under, you could even see the odds. You can see that plus 124 right there. And you can see how he's been trending, how he's been doing. Filter to the home games. Okay. Looks like in his last last 10 home games here, so he only has a sample size of 6 there. He's hit the under in 5 of them. You can also go down and look at how Texas is doing. They're not striking out a ton, right, which may keep us off of this. You can even go down to the pitch mix per player, seeing what they do. So this is just a fraction of the tool that they offer. This is the player prop screen. Like I said, they have a game screen. They have same game parlays built into this. So this is a parlay that's on FanDuel that they put right on the home screen, so you can kind of see the hit rate, right? They also have an insights tab. If you want to save some time, you set your filters and they just give you trending plays in the market along with their odds. Really, really cool stuff. That is all with the base version of Outlier, guys. Link down in the description. You get 7 days free. Also put it in the pinned comment. 7-day free trial. After that, $19.99 per month. You hit a couple plays with this, it pays for itself. If you want the pro version, they have the EV tool, the boost tool, the arbitrage tool, as well as a middling tool. Some really cool stuff here. This EV tool is absolutely awesome. It really is. You could see line movement and everything. It's pretty damn awesome. Checking out different places and where the lines have been. Really cool stuff here if you do want to really invest in yourself and becoming a profitable sports bettor. So go ahead and check it out, guys. Outlier. Link down in the description as well as the pinned comment. Get 7 days free. Yankees taking on the Red Sox. I mean, you know what I want to do here, right? Like, I want to say, hey, let's take the Red Sox at the plus 150, but that would certainly be biased. It has to be. Will Warren, who's been pretty damn good this year, going up against Walker Buehler, who I can't really say the same, especially as a Red Sox fan. Walker Buehler has been a little let down-ish. I mean, he's had some good starts where you're like, let's go, and then he's had some pretty bad starts. Whereas Will Warren has been really consistent. Throw out the fact that he just got smacked around by the Dodgers, right? It's like, that's fair. I'm not going to knock the guy for getting beat up by the best offense in the league. So, yeah, this would probably be Yankees for me. I don't mind the idea of an over. I think we have some really nice weather there in New York. I think it's like 85 degrees, wind blowing. Actually, which way is the wind blowing? Because if it's blowing towards the short porch, I love that. No, it's blowing towards left field, which is still, I think, only like 317, 318 down the line. It's not the short porch, though. Actually, it looks like middle of the game, the wind kind of switches up and blows across. So some swirling winds, but realistically, I like the idea of it being like 80 degrees with the Yankees bats out there against Walker Buehler. Maybe the Red Sox kind of turn up for this type of a game too as well, right? You're going to get a lot of fastballs, as we know, out of out of Will Warren, but you're also going to get a lot of sliders. That slider is a key pitch for the Red Sox. They hit that really well, including Rafi Devers, Rafaela, who's also one of the hottest players on the team right now. So, yeah, I think we could get to 9 runs. Maybe this is at the very least a 4-4 at the end of 9, and they go to overtime. They go to extras and ends up being a 9-run game, right? But at the very least, I think the Yankees can carry their own weight, so maybe you consider a Yankees team total over there. But it's got to be Yankees, maybe on the first 5-run line or something. Pains me to do it, but Warren against Walker Buehler, Yankees offense against Red Sox offense, even the bullpen's kind of being at a draw there. No real reason to like the Red Sox, unless you're a Red Sox fan being like, they're going to turn it up against their rival. Maybe they do, but that's not exactly, the best reasoning and rationale to go into it with. All right, Cincinnati taking on Arizona. This is an interesting one. We have Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound for Arizona. Not necessarily want to sit here and say that he's all that great, right? Going up against Nick Lodolo. These are two teams that their numbers do slightly tail off against lefties. I would say Cincinnati's more so than the Diamondbacks, right? So if you're thinking of this from an offensive standpoint, the Diamondbacks still have a little bit of an edge. I would say the bullpens are somewhat similar. That being said, Arizona did pitch a decent amount of arms in that Braves series, and they even came back and won that game yesterday, right? They were down a bunch. They win 11-10. So needless to say, this Arizona team's on fire. Cincinnati has lost, 4 of their last 5. I think this might be a decent spot to take a peek at Arizona. I don't know how much trust I can extend towards Eduardo Rodriguez, but if you're getting odds like this at minus 105 for a way better offense, I think that could be the spot that we consider. Now, if you're kind of afraid of the idea, and we haven't even talked about Nick Lodolo on the other end, so just stay tuned for that. If you're kind of afraid of Eduardo Rodriguez, then maybe Arizona over 4.5 for their team total. I could get behind that. Lodolo has really struggled against lefty bats this year, so obviously there's going to be a decent amount of lefty bats and good bats in that lineup. I would say that at least you have Carroll and Naylor, right, or 2 worrisome ones. Marte and Perdomo will be hidden from the right side with the switch, so I guess just those 2 lefty bats to worry about. But he's been really troublesome at home. A 5.7 FIP, an average against of 300. Lefty's batting almost 380 against him. A home whip of 1.5, so yeah, he's not exactly been crushing it when at home, right? I can't sit here and say he's been a bad pitcher because he's been pitching pretty well, but all of his starts that he actually goes, 5 innings, 3 or 4 earned, have been at home. It is a, batter-friendly ballpark. I trust a little bit of the Arizona offense to keep it going here. So give me Arizona and their team total over. I think that's what we ultimately end up getting to. In terms of Lodolo's stats against this Diamondbacks team, in terms of the players on the team, they're not bad, but only in a 12-game sample size. Eduardo Rodriguez at least has 38 plate appearances against 235 average, against a WOBA of 236, no walks, like some decent-ish numbers, you know what I mean? So give me Arizona, but if you don't want to trust Eduardo or don't want to trust the bullpen, just go team total over. Cleveland taking on Houston, and have we learned that Cleveland legitimately just cannot seem to sniff lefty pitchers, right? So they have Colton Gordon, who's actually been pretty damn good at home this year on the mound for Houston. And when I say pretty good, it's like consistent, right? I think he has a couple home starts. He's going to give you 5 innings, maybe 2 or 3 earned runs. But that should equate to way less against this Cleveland squad. So, yeah, I do think that that's a decent spot. He's also very good against lefties. What do we know about Cleveland? They have a decent amount of lefties in the lineup as well. So, yeah, I like the idea of Houston in this spot. The odds kind of throw me for a little bit of a loop here. Only minus 120. I feel like this should be a little bit more extreme. This has moved around big time. I think Cleveland originally was, kind of a pick 'em, and it's moved in the direction of plus money for them. So maybe some lineup adjustments that we just don't have up to date right now. But it's still going to be Houston for me. I like the idea of them potentially getting to Logan Allen as well. He's got 29 plate appearances against the current roster. 444 average against, which is crazy. A WOBA of 515. Expected slugging 560. Only a 10% K rate on a 7% walk rate. So I think this team can get to him. I know they're on the road. Do I love that? Not necessarily, but maybe this is a nice spot to target Houston in their team total. We're owed a Houston team total at some point, right? We have been seemingly striking out on those bad boys, but they scored 8 runs yesterday. Maybe there's a little momentum on their side. That is pretty juiced. DK right now, minus 160, right, which is probably as far as I'd go with it. But that being said, you do have every other book out there in the minus 170. So there's about 10 cents of value that we're looking at in terms of what you can get for that team total. So Houston team total might be the spot you want to go to. But I don't mind the money line because, again, you're saying that this Cleveland team can't hit a lefty. There's a lefty on the mound for Houston today. All right, Detroit, Chicago, we have Tarek Skubal on the mound going up against Ben Brown. This is a very hefty price tag to pay. Now, I get why it's that price. It's Tarek Skubal, right? Ben Brown, though, has been really bad. So anything that we want to craft, like I was thinking about maybe a first 5 under, because I can't sit here and say that this Tigers offense has been phenomenal, right? We cashed that White Sox and Tigers under yesterday. But Ben Brown, if you look at his recent games, it's like, yikes. 2 games in a row, right? Now, this is against Miami and Cincinnati. Not like world-beating offenses. 4 2/3, 6 earned runs. Next game, 4 1/3, 8 earned runs. These are on the road, okay? So this guy is not all that great recently on the road, which is kind of funny because he actually was pitching pretty well on the road earlier in the year. But again, going up against Tarek Skubal, like, what are you going to say? This is obviously the better pitcher on that side. So priced out at this point, maybe the only thing I could justify would be Detroit in the first 5 run line. But, like, you still need them to score runs, and I don't think that offense has been all that phenomenal, right? So that might be where I go. But to me, it's Detroit or nothing. But ultimately, I kind of wanted to get to the first 5 under. Just can't trust Ben Brown as far as I could throw him. So Detroit, first 5 under is what I'd be looking at here. What we can do, and maybe we can even just show outlier really quickly here. Let's go ahead and see if we can find some player props, because I wouldn't mind targeting some unders for some of these Cubs, especially when they're going up Skubal, right? So let's see if we can find any that have been trending for the moment. So I'll just show you how we could do this. Ready? So we're looking at unders. I want to be looking at hits, runs, and RBIs. That's kind of the spot that I like, right? Now let's see what we got here. So we're looking for Cubs players. Carson Kelly, let's check him out. Him up against, well, it's actually 0.5. I'm looking for the 1.5. Let's see if we can get any 1.5s here. So say a Suzuki, that's tough. Nico Horner, obviously it's going to be some of the better guys. And Kyle Tucker. All right, let's check out these guys because obviously they're kind of sweats. All right, he bats better against lefties. No good there. This is what I love about Outlier, right? Kyle Tucker, or excuse me, who is this? This is Nico Horner. He bats better against lefties. Kyle Tucker, do we have a good little... Nope, he bats better against lefties as well. So probably no player prop action in this one as well. Everything's going to be priced out. Tough one to get to. So unfortunately, no pun intended, swing and a miss in this game. I don't think we're going to have any final plays. All right, White Sox taking on the Royals. Davis Martin on the mound for the Sox going up against Seth Lugo. Seth Lugo hasn't had a very good year. But what I would expect him to be able to do is pitch well against this White Sox team, much like he did early in the year. He went into the 7th inning, 1 earned run. He did have just a 3 strikeout game with 3 walks, so that's not all that great. Davis Martin, I believe in that same series, pitched against the Royals and got kind of hit up. 4 innings, 4 earned runs, 2 strikeouts. So I think that the Royals obviously have the upper edge here, but I don't think minus 160 is realistically the number that we want to be looking at. I think we can pivot to something more along the lines of a first 5 under, because I kind of want to trust Davis Martin in a little bit of a bounce back spot here. From his pitch mix, he's going to throw a lot of fastballs and a lot of changeups. The cutter could get him in trouble, but fastballs and changeups could be pretty good against this Royals squad. If I were to throw out a little bit of caution there, it's that the Royals have gone 10, 5, and 7 runs scored in their last few games here, right? 2 of them being yesterday. It was a doubleheader, so maybe that helps us out as well. But right now, for a first 5 under, updated odds would be under 4.5 minus 118, under 5 minus 155. So if we take a peek at that, Seth Lugo on the year when on the road 1 and 2 to the under, which isn't all that great, right? He's been a little bit better at home. But Davis Martin here, when at home, honestly, pretty damn good. He's cashed it 4 times out of his 6 starts. So I think we could be considering a first 5 under between these two squads. Maybe like a 2-2 game at maximum. But ultimately, if the Royals are hitting, like if we don't make this a final play, it's because I think that the Royals may actually hit today, which I'd pivot Royals to their team total over and still consider them on the money line. All right, Twins taking on Toronto. I would say I'm probably on the Twins in this one. Coming off of a loss to the Athletics, they did win 3 of 4 in that series. Toronto has just been on fire. Now it's a change of scenery. They've been at home for 7 straight games. They won 6 of those, right? And they just beat the Philadelphia Phillies pretty handily in that game. I do think it's a little bit of maybe a comeback down to earth type of spot for them. Bailey Ober should be a decent match against them. I mean, his numbers against them in the past are pretty good. And when I say against them, I mean the current roster. So guys that are on the team, how they go against them as an aggregate. 79 plate appearances against, 28% K rate, 6% walk rate, average against of 176. The only thing that could worry us is the fact that he has a terrible ground ball to fly ball rate against them and a terrible ground ball to fly ball rate this year. If they lift something, if something like that happens, maybe we're looking at some, swing in, change the game type plays. But we do have a lot of wind blowing in Minnesota, or a decent amount of wind blowing in, so that should help that, meaning those fly balls aren't going to just sail and sail and sail. I like him in this spot. He's also going to throw a ton of fastballs, sliders, and changeups. The fastball is probably the one that I'm thinking is the get-out pitch here, which is crazy to say. The changeup, Toronto's hitting number 1 in the league over the last 30 days, and slider top 10. So if he is on with his fastball, that gives him a little bit of an advantage, right? From a bullpen perspective, let's talk about that really quickly. Minnesota should be good to go. Toronto only used, I think, either 1 or 2 arms yesterday. So we'll have their bullpens all throughout the game. I like the idea of like a 4-3 win on either side, honestly. I think both pitchers could pitch well. Lauer's on the mound for Toronto. He's going to throw a lot of fastballs, cutters, sliders. Not that I love him, but Minnesota's offense a little bit worse against lefties. So yeah, give me a total 5-3 type win for Minnesota. 4-3 maximum if Toronto wins, that type of a thing. So I like Minnesota in the under. All right, Brewers taking on San Diego. Chad Patrick going up against Randy Vasquez. Wow, these odds are kind of shocking to me. Just like no respect for San Diego here, which I know they've kind of pissed away their respect. And Milwaukee's a really hot baseball team right now, 9-1 in their last 10. I get it, but I mean, to me, this is just a price where I don't really want to pass up the Padres. This Milwaukee team, as good as they are, at some point they should come back down to earth, right? And they've actually, over the last 30 days, not exactly been the best against righties. They've seen a decent amount of lefties lately, but not exactly the best against righties, so I'm kind of worried about that. We saw, Andrew Abbott pitch okay against them, and all of a sudden they just went nuclear against the bullpen. San Diego's got a decent bullpen. Is it a great bullpen? No, I don't want to sit here and say that, but it's by the numbers pretty good. Now, they're a little bit more rested after yesterday's game, which is good. So I think for the price here, it'd be San Diego or nothing for me in this game. I don't think Milwaukee has earned to be minus 150 favorites over San Diego with Chad Patrick on the bump. I'm not ragging on Chad Patrick. The dude's actually been really good lately, and he's gone up against some good offenses, so I'll give him that. But to me, Vasquez is like vastly underrated. Vasquezly underrated, no pun intended there, but also not even a pun. So give me San Diego. In terms of a total, I guess I'll lean towards the over because I don't want to like fully back Vasquez and say Milwaukee won't hit him, right? Secondarily, Chad Patrick, as good as he's been, like I think with the Brewers, at some point they come back down to earth. So Padres in the over here. All right, this one is tough because we have the Dodgers here who are, flying from playing late last night to St. Louis. St. Louis had a doubleheader yesterday, though, so maybe like the travel and the playtime kind of cancel each other out. Big pitching discrepancy. Wrobelski on the mound going up against St. Louis's Sonny Gray. So, okay, now we're sitting here being like, okay, this is going to be tough, right? Wrobelski, I think, only has like one start and 2 appearances under his belt, right? Hasn't looked all that phenomenal whatsoever, but he is a lefty. And I think that that's worth noting because the St. Louis team does at times struggle against lefties. So are you getting this Dodgers team for plus money, and does it look good? Potentially, but Sonny Gray's been pretty damn good against this Dodgers team over his career. When I say the team, again, I mean the roster. 143 in terms of plate appearances against, 27% K rate, 8% walk rate, average against of 256, but it drops down to 236. That's really an expected average. That's really good against a Dodgers squad. Think about the freaking Dodgers, right? WOBA of 338 drops down to 320 in expected numbers. So there is definitely an angle to get to St. Louis here. But I sit there and I go, come on, man. I mean, we got the Dodgers at plus money. Kind of like chomping at the bit to get that one down. So there's definitely a chance that we end up rolling with Dodgers here. Is it the right move? I do question that. I think price-wise, sure. We can get the Dodgers for plus money anytime you see that. Like, you're not going to get it very often, right? So maybe that is something that we consider. Wrobelski, again, not really backing him, don't want to back him, but I think Dodgers on the money line might be something that we end up ultimately considering. But if you like St. Louis, I get it. You probably like St. Louis in the under, whereas I'm liking the Dodgers and the over because I think that they'll score. But St. Louis, if Sonny Gray goes out there and shuts them down, that gives them a better chance because they don't really hit lefties. They just haven't been hitting lefties all that well lately. So, yeah, to each their own in this one. I'm trusting the offenses, and I'm trusting the best offense in the league to potentially be able to score. Maybe even if they don't score off Sonny Gray, they have some late inning scoring there that for plus money, we're getting the Dodgers. Come on. Colorado taking on the Mets. I believe these two teams just faced off, right? And the Mets, we actually cashed with them in a parlay piece, but that was in Colorado. No, was that in New York? That was in New York, right? This is in Colorado, so now we're going to probably have the Mets scoring 1 million runs. I wouldn't doubt it. Senzatella's on the mound, too. Everything points to a Mets team total over, even if you get it at, 999.5. So I'm going to lean Mets team total over. That's probably all I consider in this one. Senzatella stinks, and the Mets offense should be able to get to him. All right, Angels taking on Seattle. I think I'm going to be looking at this from a fairly unique perspective because I like the under 9.5. This Seattle offense has not really been all that scary, right? The Angels offense has been on fire, but it's all been on the road. I mean, this year at home, they've averaged 3.5 runs per game. So I sit there and I'm like, I guess 9.5 seems a little bit high, right? This could be a 5-4 game, and it ends up being an under. So I like the under in this spot. I'm really digging my teeth into that idea that this Angels team, though, is not as good, at home offensively than on the road for whatever reason. So that's a big part. If they get off to a big lead, it's Bryce Miller. Bryce Miller hasn't necessarily been fantastic, but he hasn't been terrible. He has some good games against some bad offenses, so I'm kind of hoping for that today. But if they get off to a big lead or they score a bunch right away, that's probably an indicator that this play is cooked because I'm almost certain in this dumb brain, right, that they struggle at home and are good on the road, which the numbers say that as well, you know what I mean? So kind of looking at this as if they do continue what they've been doing early in this game, then yeah, I think that that's a wrong take, you know what I mean? I'm wrong about that. But to me, I think as of right now, that stands true until I see otherwise. So give me the under in this game. If I had to pick a side, I do think that the Mariners at some point will start scoring like they were, which is weird because, I ragged on them for not doing anything in the offseason to address their scoring, and they came out as one of the better offenses in the league. And now they're kind of back to what I thought they may have been when they didn't, address anything because they have such good pitchers. Do we get the offense coming back that was the offense at the beginning of the year, or are we seeing what the Mariners actually are? This game will be pretty telling to me. I'm still going to lean towards the Mariners, though. I like the idea of Bryce Miller versus Kyle Hendricks ultimately, and from a bullpen perspective, I'd still take Seattle's. Yikes, this one could get messy, because just like we talked about Seattle's offense, right, we don't necessarily know exactly what we're getting out of Baltimore just yet. They've looked pretty good. They've won, 5 or 6 straight games. They're averaging a decent amount, but is that going to be the consistent thing? And the A's just got their first win in, God knows how long, right? So you have Dean Kramer on the mound going up against JP Sears. This total's all the way up at 11. Sears is obviously a lefty, and it's been since the dawn of time this year that Baltimore has struggled against lefties. But their offense is kind of creeping back into gear, right? They're going to see a ton of sliders out of Sears and a ton of fastballs. That's not exactly the best pitch for them hitting-wise. And Dean Kramer, on the other hand, is going to throw fastballs, sliders. He throws a bunch of pitches. I'm not really worried about this Athletics offense. So I think if Baltimore does get to Sears, then great. They'll probably win this game. For the price, I'm comfortable with it. Right now, I think it's like minus 115. If this were to be at the minus 130 range or something like that, which I believe it's creeping in that direction, no bueno for me, all right? I'm probably off of that. But right now, where it is, I think ESPN still has it. Or MGM has it. They're probably going to bump it fairly soon. If it bumps a couple tenths, maybe down to the minus 125s, I'd still consider it. If it gets into the minus 130s, I don't think so. I think that's where the fair price is. But at that fair price, I'm kind of calling it a 50-50 game. You know what I mean? Especially on the road. So give me Baltimore up to a certain price. In terms of the total, I think one of these teams goes off, but I don't know if the other one does in lockstep with them. So I think I'm going to lean slightly towards an under 11. Can't really justify playing it, but that's where my brain is as of right now. All right, San Fran taking on Atlanta. I kind of wish that we had the pitchers from yesterday or whenever it was 2 days ago, Sale and Robbie Ray going up against one another. But we do have Hayden Birdsong and Schwellenbach. Braves are on the road, so their offense isn't always all that fantastic on the road. And I guess I could say the same thing for San Francisco. I don't know how much I trust their offense. They were a team that can score a lot at home, right? And what they ended up scoring yesterday, 3? They got the win, but they only had one game against that San Diego team at home in which they scored a decent amount of runs, and it was 6. Now they're going up against Swelly, and Swelly is obviously a very, very good pitcher, right? So Hayden Birdsong, I like to be able to kind of suppress this Atlanta offense. I do. And I would say the exact same thing about Schwellenbach. So I think what I kind of pivot to here is a first 5 under. My concern, and you guys know I like giving you the play and then kind of the concern. My concern is that we're paying minus 155 for it. Like I always will tell you, that minus 155 is a lot more valuable compared to the rest of the market. It's MGM minus 155. Minus 174 on FanDuel, minus 166 on DK. So I do understand it there, but to me, that is a pretty damn big price tag, especially when Schwellenbach 3 starts in a row on the road. They've hit the over in this. So not exactly loving that. That was against Toronto, Arizona, and Boston, and those were the teams that were getting to him. It wasn't like they scored a bunch. Now, we have Birdsong, who's 1 for 1 on home games this year. Actually, all 3 of his starts have stayed under the mark, so maybe that helps it out. I pegged this one at 2 through 5. I think it's a little bit too much juice for one more run to kill us. In terms of what we take, I would look at the Braves here in this spot. They're coming off of a brutal loss yesterday. San Fran's coming off of a win. I get that, the Braves are traveling. San Francisco's not. But to me, this is a slightly better, I shouldn't say better offense, but what I will say is I think Schwellenbach gives them a big, big advantage. From the bullpen perspective, San Francisco is absolutely taxed crazily too. So I think that you have a little bit of an advantage, throughout the entire game. Atlanta's bullpen, I want to make sure, they pitched 4 guys yesterday, but most should be okay. It looks like Iglesias, he could be in trouble. 2 straight days, you're not going to see him, but I think that they could still kind of pull this one out. And you're getting a decent price tag here. So give me the Braves on the money line, but I really don't think this is going to be a massively high-scoring game. So Braves money line, but I kind of like the idea of an under in a first 5 under. We'll see what we ultimately end up rolling with, because all those are kind of tied in my brain as of right now. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. Really do appreciate it. Like I said at the beginning of the video, say it all the time, but it doesn't make it any less true. Really do appreciate all of the support as of late. I mean that, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.